do that study. That we were waiting on the official contracts and paperwork. We were notified that we were awarded in some follow-up, and they can only tell me by phone. They couldn't say in writing, but the federal funding has been pulled for that. They couldn't say the reasons. They do think it's going to come back, but anybody who had an agreement was in progress. Fortunately, we weren't in progress, got the money pulled away. And so they do think they're going to be sending new agreements possibly this year, and more money that money could come back for your safe streets, and you can get that. But that was one where the funding was pulled. We went after 3 grants through FDEP. These were state dollars, springs restoration grants. And a little bit of a backstory. You, as well as other communities that are in the Rainbow Springs and the Silver Springs springs watershed, have nitrogen reduction requirements they are mandated to do as part of the Basin Management Action Plan. And so to meet your mandated goals, we looked to doing some septic to sewer projects, and we applied for 2 grants. One was for $9 million, another for $11 million. And then, in addition to that, since you're going to be increasing your sewer flows with these septic to sewers, we asked for money to increase capacity of the wastewater treatment plant. And that was a $22 million grant. We did not, City of Williston did not get those grants. They just notified us here in the past month. We have a meeting set up on May 12th with the grant administrators to do a debriefing. What do we need to do? Many times you have to apply for these a couple times. I looked at the list. Similar communities like Williston didn't get funded at all this round, so you're not alone. But we do have these mandates that you're going to have to meet, and this is one mechanism for you to meet that. So we say we're going to do a debriefing with DEP on May 12th. What can we do better? How should we rephrase the grant? What should we do? So that is coming up. So, here we had some pretty good opportunities, and the funding didn't work out. 2 weeks ago, Sue and Donald met with USDA to talk about some grant opportunities, loan opportunities. They are more of a loan program, but the USDRD loan for water and environmental programs has some low-cost long-term loans. And we talked to them. Sue and Donald did. I had a meeting with her again today. Rebecca Manning, who is the coordinator, we had a meeting today and went over the projects. And the Northwest 9th Circle pump station abandonment, which is about a $250,000 to $300,000 project, which the city's trying to find ways to fund. She felt that was a very good candidate for a long-term loan, low-interest loan. So we talked about that. We also talked about the Homestead lift station, which is one of the lift stations here where you're getting some backup maintenance pumps. It's in very, very bad shape. We do need to do beyond what they're asking now on those pumps. It needs a replacement. It would also be part of, if you were to do septic sewer, its flows would increase to that. So that is one that we could look for to do an upgrade and an increase of capacity. That also would fit in the USDRD loan category. So we could bundle those together, and that could be a very good opportunity. These we're still applying. It's not like a grant, so it's a little bit different, but you have to meet the criteria. Each of these you have to do what's called a preliminary engineering report to their standards, an environmental report to their standards. So we've already designed the Northwest 9th, but it's not to their standards. We'd have to go back, upgrade the design, do an environmental report and a preliminary engineering report. They would roll those costs into the loan. So to get it up there, it would be part of what they would loan you money for. There's also legal fees that would have to be done, would be probably incurred by Kirsten and her firm, and also some bonding work that would need to be done. those costs can also be tied into that. So those are some new things that look very promising for you, but they're loans. We also talked about possibly doing some of the work that we're doing now on Block 12. Could some of the sewer work that we're doing get rolled into that? That was a no. I think it was more promising 2 weeks ago, but there's some technicalities why we can't do that. So that can't happen. But they do have a business development program, and if a project helps local businesses, they have both grants and loans. And we talked about Block 12, and the future restroom and also EV stations would qualify for it. So we're getting that information. And so improvements to Block 12 could be both either a loan or grant, either way. So those things are available. And then I did talk about stormwater projects, which are typically DEP, like 9th, Northwest 7th, and Northwest 5th. They have a USD Communities Facility Program that does both loans and grants for stormwater projects. And so those are also avenues to maybe fill in the gaps for the grants that we're not getting right now. But that's where we're at on the grant phase of things. Lift stations, we can fund through them, but they're loans. They're going to be loans, pretty much. And there is it takes time. I mean, it's probably a 6-month process from applying, doing the reports, getting approvals, and getting the loans in place. So it would be at least that to do that. But there are avenues for improving the lift stations. Not for these maintenance type things that you're doing. We still need to do the pumps, but the lift stations that are in the most dire, Homestead is one of them. We can start to, okay, what can we do beyond the maintenance, the Band-Aid? What's the more long-term solution? And right now, Homestead seems to be one of the best ones to do right now.
Donald?
Yeah, Mr. Chair. Mr. President, I apologize. To bring this full circle to item B, which I know we combined E and B so you guys could get understanding of, because you mentioned grants, where would those fit in? As you're hearing, those grant opportunities are gone, at least right now. And so the things that are available for grants, as Walt just mentioned, are more geared toward economic development on the state and federal level. They are not geared toward water, wastewater. There are a few opportunities on stormwater, but that's it. So I wanted to clarify, if Sue's still on the line, she can speak up. When we say 459,000 in contingency, and we've used half, I want to make sure we're clear on what contingency is. So contingency that we're talking about is a utility contingency. It is not your reserve. If you remember your audit said that the general fund reserve had significant issues. The utility reserve passed. Now, is it where it could be? No, but it passed. The contingency at the end of the year, what's not spent in it for operations, goes toward building up those reserves. But your utility reserves do not have issues. So when Stephen, we didn't ask him where that money would come from. That's where Stephen, your finance director, indicated to Sue the money should come from. You don't want to take this out of your utility reserves. This is the leftover from the rates. This is what we were trying to figure out what we would have left over, so as we continue the next few years, we know where to take our O&M budgets and then have money to build reserves. And again, Sue can clarify this, but I just want to make sure there's an understanding that we didn't ask for a spend on something that was committed, and we didn't ask for a spend on something that is meant to address a concern of anyone in the audit process. This is money that is part of the revenue from utilities that we're referencing. So I just wanted to make sure we were clear on that.
Yes, sir. Please, Chief Roach.
Somebody correct me if I'm wrong, but I thought when they
Microphone, please.
I thought when they were building Homestead, part of that build out was that they were going to do the lift stations or have something to do with the lift stations. Was Was I mistaken?
No, sir.
Did I not hear that?
They call it Homestead. It's not. It's a city lift station, and it serves that whole area. So it's more than just that facility. It's all the residential homes in the area. That area, we're also looking for some possible septic to sewer expansions that could be in there. So it serves a much bigger area than just Homestead.
And Mr. President, to answer the question, we used to call it the Old Winn-Dixie lift station. So it's just, the names that we have, Dixie, Lily, and it's references. Each lift station, when you guys look at master plans and whatnot, they're actually numbered. So the Northeast 9th Street station, which is the CDBG that we were awarded, is lift station 4, but we don't call it that. The staff calls it the Northeast 9th station. So it's although yes, it makes it sound like it's their lift station, as Walt mentioned. It's the entire area that regionally that serves. So
Okay.
it is a city lift station.
Okay, I wasn't done with my question. But anyway, I thought that, and maybe I misheard, but I thought that development like the tiny home, the townhomes, I've heard about them upgrading lift stations and things like that. So I thought that was part of the agreement with the homestead, that when they added all those houses to that what do you call it? Your sewer thing or whatever, that part of that was for them to upgrade that system so it would handle that capacity. Maybe I got it wrong.
We're talking about Homestead Park.
No, I'm talking about the homestead sewer thing, that lift station.
Yeah, but it's behind Homestead Park.
Yes. And I thought part of the agreement with Homestead was that they were going to modify or upgrade that lift station to help us out here with adding all those new homes. I may be wrong.
Now,
I may be getting it mixed up
I
with
think
something
you are.
else.
You're getting it mixed up with CLE.
Okay.
CLE did upgrade a lift station for us,
Okay.
but this is Homestead Park.
They actually helped us abandon a lift station
Yeah.
and actually built a brand new lift station. We negotiated with townhomes for a brand new lift station, and they're required by the contract negotiated by staff to upgrade the Woodfield lift station, not only to their need, but actually higher than what their need was. So, no, with all development, with housing, we are absolutely doing that. Homestead doesn't have any housing connected. It's just that the business little area that he's developed. It's not a residential lift station in that regard. Not yet.
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, excuse me. Thank you. Northwood has their own lift station that's separate from
Northwood
the
is not
Homestead.
under sewer. Northwood was part of the grant that we put in for 242 homes to go septic to
I
sewer.
know they're septic to sewer,
Right.
but there's no lift station in that area at all other than the Homestead one.
If we were to do the septic to sewer project, that grant upgraded Homestead and took all of Northwood, if it had gone on,
Okay.
and Mixing Road, and the Williston Women's Club, and the church, and part of the crossings, and would have put it to that station, and that station would have been redesigned.
Right.
That was part of that grant. Yes, ma'am. Yeah, and Promise Acres there.
Any questions? My only concern is it just seems like we've been spending a lot of money in the
Absolutely.
last couple of months.
Absolutely.
And we still have 5 months to get through hurricanes, well, more for hurricane season. Just seems like we're just spending a lot, and I'm trying to figure out where's it all going to come from. Ms. Jones?
The good part about that is that Sue discovered some emails that we can get reimbursed for most of the money that we spent for the three hurricanes last year. So we should break even on those 3.
Yes, that was an email that went to Kat Kamick's office. It was an email Terry and I put that we had not received the money from,
We just hadn't
FEMA.
submitted it,
so,
That explains it.
but we're working on it. We've got a consultant that's helping us.
And Mr. President, to answer your question on the expenses, you're 100% correct. We've spent a lot of money, but that's because a lot of the stuff is aged out. I mean, I don't know what the answer is. We either build it new or we keep maintaining what's there, but this is the real cost of having those systems in place.
If I could add to that
sir,
or
Mr.
help,
Walt.
I've seen these lift stations. They're in bad shape. There's no doubt they are in bad shape. They should have 2 pumps in them for redundancy. Most do not.
Okay.
And if you keep going into hurricane seasons in the condition that you are, you're going to see problems. You're going to see failures.
My concern is not going ahead and getting the pumps that we need, but having so many pumps on hand and with the potential of selling it to somebody else. If we need it on hand for us, why are we going to sell it? Am I wrong?
No, ma'am, I gave you the wrong impression.
Oh, okay.
We need them on hand. You have to have spares on hand. What Mrs. Jones's question was, if somehow miraculously we get through SRF and we go out for a loan and we redesign 10 of the stations and we can no longer use those old pumps, if by some miracle we didn't have those things breaking down like they have been and we had them sitting there, they're a brand new pump, we wouldn't just eat that cost. We would find a way to recoup the money. We would get with another system and make sure that if they use that pump, they could purchase it so we get that money back in the budget. But SRF is not a guarantee. We could apply for SRF and the state could deny us. They could say, we're not giving you a loan. We could get a loan on unfavorable terms where we don't get an 80% loan forgiveness. So if the study comes back and tells council you need $10 million, well, that's great if 80% of it's forgiven completely by the state and you only owe $2 million of the 10. But they could say, you no longer qualify for loan forgiveness, so if you take out a $10 million loan, you owe us $10 million. So all I'm saying is that, we don't know when that loan will happen. We know that the study will be completed in the next 5 to 6 months roughly. Then there's the whole part of the process of applying, getting approved, and then council having to decide whether or not those terms are acceptable. And that'll determine what the loan forgiveness is. How much of that is, could be 50-50, could be 80-20, we don't know. So we need these pumps. This is the bare minimum. I mean, that's the engineer, and this is the bare minimum that we need on hand to make sure that there's not a catastrophic failure that we can't address without sitting around waiting for days or weeks for a pump to be shipped in.
So I know that we can't, we don't have a crystal ball to determine when things are going to break. But I guess my question is, how often does a brand new pump break? Is there insurance or warranties or anything like that related to those pumps that would eat that cost instead of us having to spend out more money for that?
I can tell you on the warranty, every brand new pump comes with a 1-year warranty. As for your pump system, how long they last is the environment that they're in. I mean, you can have 2 of the exact same pump in 2 exact different lift stations, one that gets taken care of, one that doesn't. One may last 10 years, one may last 10 months. It all depends on what the situation, the environment is in.
And what do you mean by taken care of?
Well, it's not
As far as
necessarily
maintenance?
maintenance, although maintenance
Okay.
plays a part, and we have a good, robust maintenance program, but it has to do with what your consumer flushes
Put it
down
in.
it.
Okay.
I'll give you an example. A year and a half ago, we had a store in town put down hundreds of pounds of kitty litter into the sewage, and we lost 4 pumps within weeks. It was over $60,000 to replace those pumps. I can't control that. And so that's the unknown factor. If we educate, we put out stuff on the bills, don't flush diapers, this whole idea of flushable wipes, there is no such thing as a flushable wipe. I wish I could buy millions of dollars worth of advertisement and put it on the Super Bowl that there is no such thing as flushable wipes, because people, that's all they put down the drains, and it's destroying our infrastructure even more so that it's already burdened. So it's an environmental question. Unfortunately, there's no way we could answer.
And if I can add, you're asking your pumps to do double duty when you only have a single pump in a lift station instead of 2. It runs 1 pump for the cycle that it needs to, and then it switches over and runs the other. So you're evening out the wear on the pumps. When you only got 1, it's 1 pump, pumping and pumping and pumping and pumping. And that cuts its life too, because you're asking it to do double duty.
All right.
So you're in that situation with a lot of your stations. You are. And you don't have that backup. If you don't have a backup, you don't have alarm systems, and you're going to wait for the flow to rise, problems to occur, staff to come out, and they've got to have a pump to put in. And if you don't have a pump to put in, you're doing portable pumps, you're pumping around the system if you can, in the tanks that cost money, which you've had to do in the past. So ideally, these stations should have 2. You have that built-in redundancy. If one fails, you still have that other one, and then you can replace it, so you're back to full redundancy. You're nowhere near. I would say your system has failed. If it's designed to have 2 pumps and it doesn't, it's failed. It's met the criteria from an engineering standpoint. It has failed. It doesn't have the redundancy that it should.
Okay.
And you've got so many that are single pump.
All right, council. What do you want to do?
I make a motion that we approve resolution 2025-6.
Yep.
Can I ask Ms. Gears, can we, since we're kind of use the other one that we piggybacked off a little bit, can we do the both at the same? B and
Yeah, we can do both at the same time. If you would like, we can vote on both resolutions in the same motion. I know that they're sort of similarly related, if that's what you want to do. Absolutely. So I can just read Resolution E. Okay. Resolution E is 2025-60, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Williston, Florida, approving a community development block grant in the neighborhood revitalization category administration contract. Fred Fox Enterprises to manage the grant number 25DBN09 and providing an effective date.
Second the motion.
Is the motion amended to include the second resolution?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, do we have a second?
I can second it.
You second. Who?
Yeah, Meredith made it. I'll second.
Okay. Okay, we have a first, second. Any other discussion?
Yes. Sorry. All right, so I guess I'm still at this point where I know we need extra pumps. Is there any way we can decrease the amount of pumps that we have on hand and at the budget, then go ahead and get more now that we know specifically where our amount is?
So
Even, you
sure.
know, for you guys, I know you have had a healthy, contingency, but just looking at your contingency.
Sure. So to answer the question, I hold a few licenses. I'm not an engineer. I'll let the engineer speak for himself. It is my recommendation that everything that's being asked for in this item is absolutely essential. There is nothing extra. There's no fluff. There's not any bell or whistle. There's nothing additional here that is not something that I would consider essential. That's my opinion. If Walt has a different opinion as the engineer, he's more than welcome to share that.
No, I share your concern and stance. I mean, they are under design criteria as they are by far amounts, and the getting at least the minimum amount of pumps in the stations, and then still having a backup. Every community has backups to their system. They do, and right now you don't.
Okay, thank you. All right, so we got a first, second. We had a brief discussion.
Can I ask one more question? Kind of
Yes.
on top of these. So there are 21 lift stations and there's 35 pumps listed here. If we got one of every kind we needed, would that not be enough? And
No,
I
ma'am.
don't know that it would save us enough money to make it worth doing.
No, ma'am. So let me give you just one example. Russell and Acre are identical.
Right? Saw
Um,
that.
Russell takes 2 of one type of pump and an additional third pump. Acre takes 2 of the same pump of the previous 2. Acre went down 2 weeks ago. Both of them went down. That's the giant one that he just said we're going to try and get in a skid. It has the motor and the pump mechanism. We had to go to Russell, disconnect one of those working pumps, and put it in Acre so we could avert catastrophe.
Right.
So we have to put one back in each one of those, plus the third pump in Russell is not working. So there's 3 just for one station. And then you need one of those specialized pumps in each station as a backup. So there's another 2. And then the hospital also has these. It's not just, we call it the hospital, but it's not just the hospital. It's
Right.
for the area.
Sure.
It is down to 1 pump. So we have one that needs to go in it, and then it does not have a spare. So right there you have 2 to put back in to put it up to level. I'm sorry, 3 between the 3 stations. and then you have 3 spares. Now, you guys could say, well, take it down to 2 spares. I guess technically we could, but the problem is what do you do when those have lead times of 6 weeks? And if all 3 decided to go down, and it has in fact happened before, where many stations have gone down once, especially when they're in series. What flows through one goes through another. So you can have a contingency where multiple stations fail due to an environmental condition. So, I mean, we'll do whatever the council wishes. We will do the best that we can with whatever resources the council decides to do for us. You know, if you guys want to ask, again, somebody else to look at the list and compare and contrast whether or not they agree with what we came up with, you know, that's perfectly understandable. I don't see anything on here that's not necessary. That's my opinion.
I would just add a comment that I think since the Fugate lift station went down, we have all learned a lot about sewer lift stations. And I appreciate that education.
And just so you know, we're not questioning your expertise, but we have to be diligent about, you know, what we're doing and what we're voting on.
I respect all of you for your fiscal stewardship.
Thank you.
All right, we had first, we got a second. We've had 2 minor discussions. Any others? All right, seeing none, we're going to move to vote. All in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed? 4-0.
All right. Mr. President, this is Resolution 2025-57, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Williston, Florida, approving the addition of a utility operator position for the water, gas, sewer treatment, sewer collections, and stormwater departments, authorizing appropriate parties to sign any documents required to effectuate same on behalf of the City of Williston and providing an effective date.
Mr. President and Council, we are seeking a locator position. We addressed this at the previous budget. We have also in the agenda here in another item or so a GPR, which is through the Sheriff's Association. That is money that is in fact budgeted. We're not asking for any additional money for the GPR. Matter of fact, we're saving money. And then not only are we saving money, but there was an additional $10,000 taken out of the GPR fund that we also didn't spend that went toward all the cleaning of all the ducts and the mold in this building for the remediation. So we budgeted an item. We took $10,000 or $11,000 of it, did another issue and addressed that. Then we're still returning money from that issue or from that budget for about roughly $5,000. And then we're going to be purchasing a GPR if you guys decide to let us move forward with that budgeted item. That's item D. The handout that you received on your dais, it has on the top of it Sunshine 811. If you look down at year 2022, which what this sheet is, we had in year 2022 766 locate tickets. So if you flip the page, this is the 2023, and you will notice that that count in 1 year went up to 1,356 tickets. If you go back to 2022, they used to estimate our annual assessment, the cost to the city, for being part of the 811 Sunshine, as our annual cost at $559.71. On 2023, if you look at it, they stopped saying annual and they went to monthly assessment, and that went to $82.46. So we had a drastic increase in that time period on locate tickets. Then if you go to the next page, it's 2024, and last year it was 1,429 tickets at a monthly assessment of $94.16 on our membership. And the very last page is current on our ticket summary so far for 2025. The normal, if you see the normal, it's 312. So according to our 2024, we should be up to 312 tickets to match that same rate. The total already this year is 351. So we are getting more and more and more locate tickets. This has to do with, if we're talking about, fiduciary savings and responsibility, We probably, as I've mentioned to council in the last couple years, on breaks for lines that could not be located, on abandoned things, on other utilities that, like for example, you can't locate sewer. We probably had close to $170,000 worth of damage on those. So that's why we, at the beginning of last year's budget, talked about the GPR, talked about that's another device that we can scan. We can do a much more thorough analysis of when a locate is done. But that takes your average locate ticket from, let's say, a 20, 30-minute response and coding to up to an hour, hour and a half per ticket if you want to make sure that you're not damaging things or your contractors are not damaging things. 811 is not optional. We have to comply. It is state law under state statute 556. So I just wanted to show you that, where this is escalating to. We are not staffed to have, and right now we have an individual working 40 hours a week plus, and all they're doing is locates. And yet that is a technical position who's supposed to be going out, doing water meters, doing gas meters, fixing water leaks. And so, as we mentioned at the last year budget, I understand that it was not done. We are asking this currently if we're going to get this GPR, if we can bring on a position for a locator. And that's all this individual will do in the city, 40 hours a week plus. And so, that's what we're asking for.
So would this person then be replacing the 811 within the city?
No, sir. 811 is done as a contract through USIC. So CenturyLink, Spectrum, AT&T, all of those services, or where we coincide our utilities with, let's say, Clay or Central Florida or Duke, those folks have to locate their utilities. But we are required to locate all of our utilities. So anything within our regional service, not just the city limits, where power, gas, water, any of that is located, we're supposed to locate and we're supposed to mark. And then there's limits to how fast we have to do that. We have a 2-day response time from the time the ticket's put in, excluding holidays, weekends. And then we have requirements as if that is off more than 24 to 36 inches on the mark. We don't give depths, but if it's off of the mark, let's say the water line's here, and we end up locating it and we think it's over here, and that span is greater than 24 to 36 inches, and the contractor comes in and rips up, costs us $20,000, that cost is on us. We cannot enforce them to pay for the damage that they caused. So we take photographs of that. It's not something that you go out to your house, hook up, and in 5 minutes it's done. They have to paint the lines. They have to flag the lines sometimes. They have to make sure that they're thorough. We can't locate sewer. That's why we wanted to get the GPR. And there's a lot of water lines because they're original plastic lines that were bored in. There's no ditch line. There's no tape. There's no locate wire. We can't locate those either. So the whole point is it takes a scan, and it's like an ultrasound machine. Someone is specially trained to go in and analyze the data and the waves on the reader, and that allows them to say, look, I know that that's an empty line, or I know that that's a full line based on how it appears. It's a trained position. We're asking technicians who don't do that to go and go in and out, and one day you're a locator and one day you're not a locator, and then we need you on the water leak, and then but we're up to 40 hours plus every week on one individual or multiple individuals just doing locates. And it's only going to get worse if we integrate the GPR. So,
Mr. Bishop.
So if you remember back, T-Mobile next to Hardee's, when they had that big main break,
Yes.
the whole world came after us and said we didn't locate that. We located that 6 or 7 times to come to find out there was a line that even I forgot about or didn't know about, 8 foot deeper than that. And that line, come to find out, goes under the nursing home. But we didn't know it was there. So the GPR, not saying you're never going to have mistakes, you're going to find everything. That's not what I'm saying, but you're going to drastically reduce that. Because if we had it, we could have done the whole road, and then we would have been like, what is that? We don't know. We'll dig it up, and wow, there's a new water line there. And it was an old cast iron line, so it's 30s or 40s when it was put in. So that's where that could come in to help.
All right, so my question will be, would we fund this person? Out of what? Do we have the money in there? Because I know with utilities, they moved their A lineman to next budget season to make room for their person. Am I correct on that, Mr. Bishop?
So different budget. Now the nice thing about the locators is basically paid out of every budget because it locates every service.
Okay.
Yes, there's a little bit in a couple different positions all throughout the year that are not funded. Again, Stephen could speak up, but I mean there are monies and salaries that have not been paid that if we had paid out full salaries that had been budgeted, there is money left over to continue this budget year. Now, for the new year coming in October, if you wanted to keep the locator, yes, that would be a new additional funding that would have to be put into the budget. And that's why we put a range in here for you guys to see, what they would qualify low end to maxed end in. So I'm all I'll say to the council is we're getting to the size and the growth where it's almost inevitable that you have to have someone do this full time. I don't know how else to say it. And we can continue to take techs and do that, but they're distracting from the work that they're supposed to be doing. And unfortunately, this is another one of those unfunded mandates. I mean, it's state law. We have to locate. We have no way around it, unfortunately.
So out of all the employees, we don't have two to where one can work 20 hours and then the other one work 20 and they still...
Sure, we could do that. The issue with the GPR coming in is, how many people do you specially train almost like an ultrasound tech to do this? Okay, and we're going to cross-train, of course, but we have a lot of... I mean, you got to understand the water, the sewer, and the gas crew all cover the same thing. They're all cross-licensed.
Yep,
so
realize that.
They're going into multiple fields. You're throwing another one at them, and you're asking them to take on that skill. And there's a lot of responsibility when it comes to locating. I mean, they can be responsible for a lot of damage if they don't do their job properly. So council could say, look, we want to wait and see how it goes. I can just tell you that if we're going to get the GPR machine, it's sort of a waste if we don't have someone with that extra time that can dedicate to actually utilizing this technology to prevent high costs of damages.
Clarification. So just to clarify, the job position is not in the budget, but the GPR is in the budget.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Mr. President, can I say something?
Yes.
So just in the short time that I've been here, just to kind of speak to Donald's statement about damages, I've seen somewhere in the neighborhood of $10,000 to $15,000 in damage come across my desk. So it is definitely an issue that we're having problems with not locating things properly, and we probably would be able to over a year save enough money in these damages if we do have someone that's trained properly to locate these utilities correctly.
Question.
Yes, ma'am.
So, if we create this position for this person, are we hiring somebody who already has the knowledge, or are we going to hire somebody then have to send them to school to acquire the knowledge?
We would hire someone, hopefully, that has GPR knowledge. That's why there's a range according to their experience. If we could not find someone for this range with GPR experience, then the company that we would potentially purchase the GPR offers free training, and it's unlimited. We can call them out as many times as we want. We don't have to send the employee anywhere for a hotel or class. They come here, and they will work with that employee until that employee or the city feels comfortable enough to say, we believe that they're trained properly on this device. We could get someone with the GPR knowledge that is trained on a particular company's. This one's Veermeer, and yet they'd have to kind of relearn or kind of learn how this one works. So they could even have GPR knowledge, but we would still get, if we got a GPR machine, we would still get them with the company as a refresher and to work toward that. So yes, we'd love experience. That's what we would look for in an interview process. But if we had to train someone, or we would take one of the technicians that's shown an inclination that wants to move over there, train them, and then hire in for their former tech position. So there's lots of ways of approaching it. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, that was going to be my next question. Thank you.
And again, of course, my concern is the money aspect of it. Meredith, you got anything?
I feel like this is a wise investment. It's unfortunate always to have to spend money on the not fun things. But I think this, based on what Sue said and my knowledge of how this has worked in the past, I think we will recoup the cost of the employee's salary and savings from having to pay damages. So to me, it's a win-win. It's a zero-sum game.
Deborah?
I agree.
I'm good.
You good?
Mm-hmm.
So, Miss Blue, can we put C and D, since basically they're going hand in hand? No sense of hiring the employee if we...
Absolutely. We can absolutely do that. I will read D, which is Resolution 2025-58, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Williston, Florida, approving the purchase of a utility ground penetrating radar, GPR, for the power, water, gas, sewer treatment, sewer collections, and stormwater department, authorizing appropriate parties to sign any documents required to effectuate same on behalf of the City of Williston and providing an effective date.
Okay, so can I get a motion to combine C and D?
I move approval of Resolution 2025-57 as well as Resolution 2025-58.
All right. Got a first? Got a second?
I second.
Got a first, got a second. Any other discussion? Nope. All right. Seeing none, we'll move to vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? 4-0.
All right, Mr. President, this is Resolution 2025-61, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Williston, Florida, approving the First Amendment to installation contract with PSI, authorizing appropriate parties to sign any documents required to execute such amendment on behalf of the City of Williston and providing an effective date. I see that my name is under this agenda item. This is the First Amendment to our contract that we currently have with Performance Services in order for Performance Services to procure the materials that we need for the project. So it's not an overall increase in the project cost. It's an increase in the contract cost to shift the cost from the city to PSI, which assists us in procuring the materials that we need in a more expeditious fashion. So I'm happy to answer any questions, but just to reiterate, not an increase, and Donald, correct me if I'm wrong, not an increase to the project cost, just shifting of who's going to front those costs and how they're going to be procured.
Okay.
I move approval of Resolution 2025-61.
I'll second.
We have first, we got a second. Any other discussion? No discussion? All right, seeing none, let's move to vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? 4-0.
All right, Mr. President, this opens your public hearing. This is the second reading of Ordinance 2025-747, an ordinance of the City of Williston, Florida, amending the City of Williston Land Development Regulations as amended, adding reference to the International Property Maintenance Code 2021 edition related to an amendment of the text of the Land Development Regulations, providing for amending Chapter Section 48, adding Section 48-9, unsafe structure and building abatement, providing severability, providing for incorporation in the City Code of Ordinances, and providing an effective date.
Ms. Jones?
Thank you, Mr. President. You saw this 2 weeks ago. This is our code enforcement, adding the International Property Maintenance Code to the code that we have to make it a little bit beefier and a little bit more detailed so that Don has a little bit more power when he's writing his letters and trying to explain issues of blight and code deficiencies.
Okay. All right, Council, what do you want to do?
I make a motion that we approve the second reading of Ordinance 2025-747.
I'll second.
We have first and second. Any other discussion? All right, hearing none, we'll move to vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? 4-0.
All right, Mr. President, next item is first reading of Ordinance 2025-749, an ordinance of the City of Williston, Florida, amending the City of Williston Code of Ordinances as amended, providing for amending Chapter 12, Article 3, Section 12-79, fees regarding the Williston Regional Airport fees, providing for setting rates via resolution, providing severability, providing for incorporation in the City Code of Ordinances, and providing an effective date.
Mr. Stiegel.
Yes, sir. Kind of just following suit with the rest of the ordinances that we have with our rates and fees along with the city. Initially, I think I think the airport was the first one to talk about the resolution a few years ago, and the utilities departments kind of took it and ran with it, and we kind of decided to table it and are now revisiting the thought so we can actually update our fee schedule a little easier than, having to come back and publish and publish and publish and publish. All that good stuff.
Okay. Council?
I move approval of ordinance 2025-749 on first reading.
Second.
We have first, second. Any other discussion? Hearing none. Move to vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? 4-0.
Thank you.
All right, Mr. President, item I is first reading of ordinance 2025-750, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Williston, Florida, amending the retirement plan and trust for the employees of the City of Williston, amending Section G1, normal retirement date, Section 6.01, to include 25 years of service, providing severability, and providing an effective date.
All right, Council. We have two options. Personally, I kind of like the 25 and out part of it, because if you're a young man just coming in and working in a city or decide to do that, and all of a sudden you decide you like it more, it's a enticement, I guess you could say, to work for that department for 25 years. Be no different going to the military, just 5 more years. And then they could still, correct me if I'm wrong, they could still stay on after 25 years and go into a drop program for 5 more years. That's kind of how I see it. Sorry, for all. Anybody? You're killing me.
Just for the fun of it, I'm going to get there in a minute, but on page 144, can you bring up 144 for me, Laura? Which is a totally different section. This particular section, it talks about normal retirement dates, and this is what we currently have, and that's why I just wanted to call it to your attention. It talks about attaining age 55 and 10 years of service to age 52 and 25 years of service, or attaining a 30-year credit, for accredited service, investing in 5 years. That's what we have now, and I just wanted to point that out to you. I don't know that anybody's ever looked at what we currently have, but just to tell you, that's what's listed as what we currently have for the normal retirement date for an employee. And obviously, we're talking about something totally different here. We're talking about staying 25 years no matter what your age is and being able to get full retirement because you were here 25 years no matter what your age. And I just wanted to call that to your attention.
Okay.
Not to really say it one way or the other. And I will say, I don't know who gave us this little list, but I greatly appreciate it. Asked for it last time, and it did suddenly appear on our desk. That tells what the longevity is of every employee. I do appreciate seeing it.
I was shocked I was on there. Mr.
I was
Barber.
too.
So page 144 is the police pension.
Yes.
It is different than the general pension.
Yep. And I just wanted to call to your attention that's what they are doing.
Right. So exactly. The police are 55. We are 62.
Yes, I realize.
So I just want to point that out. So
62 and 5 years is
right.
what the generals are.
For example, like John's been 27 years, and he has 11 more years before he hits 62.
62.
So he would have to work here close to 40 some years in order to retire. We have a lot of young folk, both male and female. I was looking at Laura. That have started in their early 20s, and they're the ones that brought this to the pension board, and they're the ones that are talking about this because they're seriously concerned about not being able to retire and not being able to get that second career once they retire from the city, using the knowledge and the licenses and things they get. A lot of people go on to consultancy and they go on to specialized fields. They become salespeople, like the gentleman that was here, I think, from Coastal Pump. So I just, I want to point that out. And then I know that it was important to the council to understand how many people this would affect. On the back page of that list, there's only two employees, I apologize. There are only 2 employees in the general fund pension that would be affected by this change. One is actually not affected if you consider the fact that he's 61. No,
On the back page.
The dispatch, John, he actually will hit age before he hits his years of service.
Yeah.
So then it goes down to actually only 1 employee affected. There will not be an exodus of talented employees. There will be an exodus of 1 very talented employee if this were to pass, if he decided that he wanted to.
Yeah.
So I know that was a big concern. But you're not going to have like 6 people all of a sudden just disappear and say thanks for the money and see you later. I just want to point that out.
Comment. On the back page, if you look at it really good, at least 4 of those are fire department and are not in this general employee pension plan. Some of the others are part-time. Huh? Oh, Matt Fortney's the only one. Yeah, I realize that. But some of the others, like Reverend Caldwell, he's part-time, so he's not in the pension plan. So when you look at these, even those that are close to 20 years, I could take 6 of them out right now because they're not even in the plan. They're in a different plan, but not this one. I mean, like all the firefighters are in the state firefighters plan, and the police officers are in the 185 police officer pension plan. So, and Matt's not covered by this. He's already, but he hits 55, he'll be there, so. Or years of service, either one. So he's not covered by the general employee because he's a police officer. He's in the 185, not the general. So when you look at it that way, that's why I said I really appreciate seeing this. I was happy to find it.
Okay. Anything? Chris?
Christy Richardson, work for the city of Williston, obviously. I just want to say that obviously I'm past the point, so this part of it doesn't affect me. But I do know that, some of our guys, they've had conversations with me that did start out at a younger age. And it's, in other words, it's an attractant when we're trying to hire good people, if they know that they can work here X many years and get their, full retirement versus thinking they're going to have to work here 40, 50, 60 years to be able to ever retire, as like Donald said, so then they can move on to do other things. So, our younger guys are really, this is kind of, I'm not going to say they may stay or they may leave because of it, but it definitely puts kind of a not so good taste in their mouth as far as longevity at the city, because they don't want to be here 40, 50 years to be able to retire, when they start in their early 20s. And you can't blame them for that, So like I said, it doesn't affect me because obviously I'm way past that point. So, shut up. Nothing from the peanut gallery, okay? So anyway, I'm just saying that, I just wanted you to be aware that, the younger guys are having the conversation that, would be the ones that would be, this would affect.
Right.
So, thank you.
Thank you.
BJ Bishop,
Who?
City of Williston employee. Also, just because it's an option doesn't mean they have to take it. If they don't want to leave at 25 years, they can stay till they're 62 if they want. It's not a have to do. It's just an extra option. And then they get to take the drop.
Thank you.
Amos Henderson, City of Williston. The city, the pay rate here is kind of off balance to other principalities. Like, you can't compete. You want to draw in talent, you want to draw in the best you can get. And when it comes to pay rates, go to Alachua and look what they're paying their city employees, and Newberry, what they're paying their city employees on the electric side. And you got to give men something that can get them to stick and draw. If you can't give them the pay wage, give them something that can, like, oh man, I get 25 an hour. Where you can't give them that $30, $40 an hour to a lineman. He still can get a 25-year retirement, get out in 25, and give you loyal service. But, I mean, a lot of linemen can get their certificates and go on about it because they won't get nothing here anyway. If you understand, like, they go in and get certified and just go on to a GRU where they can make the money. They might not get the 25 and out, but they'll make the big bucks. They can go to Newberry where they'll make the big bucks. So y'all keep that in mind. If y'all want the city to grow and be something, you got to give something that's worth staying here.
What we can't give here, we can do over here.
Yes. You can't give the pay, but hey, you got this right here as the longevity. Stick it out, you got it. I'll land my plane.
Thank you. Mr. Bent.
Yes, sir. My only concern would be the longevity of the fund for this. I mean, if we have I know we don't have a bunch of people in the pipeline right now to retire, but let's say, 30, 40 years from now, if a lot of people are doing 25 and out, and they take the 25 and go, if you're 18 years old, it puts you at 43. You go somewhere else, and the pension fund is paying that out for the rest of the time until they're not anymore. So, I mean, that's my only concern with it. I like the idea, I like the concept of it, but can we pay for it? And if we do something like that, do we change the vesting to greater than 5 years to ensure that the pension fund is funded for that differential? That's my only take, just a little bit of fiscal double checking.
Mr. Barber?
So I'm sure the pension board would be better apt to answer this question, but I sat in the meetings and the actuary discussed this point. And what's made up for the amount of time that you're paying them is how many young employees we have. So they're paying in for the next 20 years, and that's going to really build up that fund while we have very few people retiring for such a long period of time that when they studied this out, this was not something that was an exorbitant cost, and this was not something that the actuary said that was in any way risking the fund. I mean, those were questions that were drilled down on your general pension board is very thorough in the questions that they asked, and they did a really good job of vetting that very question. And for those that would like to attend the meeting, I mean, everybody on the board really cares about the longevity of the fund, and they've done a good job in asking those types of questions. So I would encourage maybe any of them to address that subject in particular.
Thank you.
Another comment. Another comment that adds kind of what Donald's saying. All those young people that are here, or anyone who doesn't stay at least 5 years, if they walk, if they're only here 4 years, they leave, they get their 5% back plus interest, but they do not get the part we put in. It stays in the fund. It helps it grow. I'll also say that if they are vested and they've been here 5 years or more, and they leave, their money stays in the fund and also helps it grow. They get it when they get of age right now, but they don't get it even though they're vested. They have to be 62 to get it. So it's sitting here waiting on them to turn 62. And there are a lot of people that are out there that are like that. But so there are dollars that sit in the fund that grow.
So are you saying that if they leave at 25, retire at 25, they're not getting their funds until they're 62?
That's what it says right now. And I don't think anybody's really thought about that. We've got to change the age, too. To no age, essentially. Because right now it says 62. And so we would need to delete that, I believe, from the plan. I mean, it's saying we're going to change it to the full retirement is 25 years. But I think we need to take the 62 out.
So we have an or in there right now.
Is there an or in there?
As the ordinance currently
Okay.
reads, as is presented to you.
Okay. Where is that? Just so I can look at it. I'd like to see it. I'm in the pension plan right now. I got to move.
Okay, so you've confused me again.
Hurry
So
up from the
if,
bottom.
while y'all are looking,
Yeah.
so if they take 25, depending on how we vote, then they can get all
Got it.
their retirement right then, or they can get their retirement at 62. Is that what you're saying?
She's got the or in there, so it does say that they can get it at 25.
So here's
no matter
my
what
issue.
their age.
Right. So here's my issue. If we look at the years of service, they are all closely right behind each other. And if you have multiple people who are coming out at the same time, we're going to be in trouble. And the fact that we're looking at doing this so that somebody can go and have start a second career, that's not our priority.
It shouldn't be the pension committee's priority anyway.
I'm speaking as far as the council.
Right.
That should not be our priority for them to go and start another career. It should be the betterment and growth of the city. Not saying that, people can't go and do that. That's not what I'm saying. But we just need to be mindful of the fact that if they take that retirement right away, we may be in trouble. That money's no longer sitting there.
Mr. President, can I?
Yes.
Is there a way that this could be restructured to make the math work so that we did not have to worry about running out of the ability to fund pension plans? In other words, can there be some... Sorry, I feel a little dumb. This is not my area of expertise by any stretch of the imagination. But there's some shifting of when the payments start for people so that the interest accrued can grow, or, different variations. Am I making any sense at all?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Okay, my comment on that is just remember when you pay one out, you're replacing them that's going to be putting into it. So you're going to...
But not at the same rate.
But he's not going to take it all at one time. It's paid monthly.
Yeah.
You're not getting...
He may take it. He may take it in a lump sum.
You could take
there
it
are
in a
many.
lump sum.
There are choices. Those are in
Someone
here
could
as well.
take it in a lump sum, or they can take it as payments. But you're going to have someone coming in, and by the time some of them leave, they are coming in at the same rate he's making.
I guess that's my question. In the way that it's distributed, is there some way to adjust the distribution so that the interest earned on the amount of money in there helps offset this change in policy?
So I was only on the pension board for a short time, but our actuary has done this stuff for us, and perhaps we should have them at one of these meetings, or at least have a report from them.
I have the current actuary report.
Yeah, I mean, could we attach the report to? Does anybody?
Would you like for me to go print it?
I started to say we've had it at the last couple of meetings.
Yeah, but I have the 2020, the current one that just come out. They sent it to us last week.
Okay.
To the pension board.
But I'm talking about what the actuary wrote about the 25 and out.
I do have that as well.
Yeah, but that's not
because
that didn't come out last week.
No,
the pension board didn't bring this to you without a lot of research first. They feel that now pensions are always a risk because it is the stock market, but they feel like it's healthy enough and that there's enough time for this to work, or they wouldn't have brought it in front of you. And that's just what I believe. And there's some of them here, so they can back me up.
Yes.
And I could tell you we looked at the 25 and out, and we looked at 30 and out. And in all honesty, I was for the 30 and out, but the committee recommended 25 and out.
And I agree with what Amos had said. If we can't pay the money that these big cities are paying, we have to do things to attract them for here and why they want to be here. Oh, there you are.
And y'all are talking about Williston like it's not like the people that you're going to have people coming in behind. Like the city is growing, it's trying to grow, but yet, everybody leave at the same time. 13 years for electric. I seen a lot of old men leave. It didn't hurt the pension none. Didn't hurt the retirement. I came in at a later date. It was all 401k. I didn't get the chance to retire there. The older men, they love it. They work their youth all the way up to old men. Some stay, like Mr. Ben Ivy. He's still there now. But younger men like me that came in, they kind of canceled it all out and went 401k. So if y'all can't really get the youth something, or young men 25, 26, something without the pay or retirement, y'all might well just get like pardon my French, meth heads, because the city cannot keep up with the city. But the city of Williston cannot keep up with the major cities.
Right.
They're paying top dollars, and if I come in here and work 3-4 years and get my apprenticeship and get my lineman, you think I'm going to stay here making $27, $28 an hour when I go right there to GRU or Clay Electric, or a contractor and make $55, $48 an hour, plus overtime, plus travel pay and benefits? I mean, you're making $160,000 a year as a lineman, $170,000 a year as a contract lineman. But you want me to stay in the city of Williston? That's what a young man would think. Buy a house, have kids, wife, and worry about retirement. No, he has a $180,000, $160,000 check a year. So I mean, really think about that. If you want the best, you got to give them something to entice them to stick around.
Right. Mr. Bishop?
Just to clear some things up, Ms. Ballou, I think the OR you're looking for is on page 134.
Yeah, I think we found it.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
But looking at the numbers there, you got 12 employees under 2 years, 21 employees under 4 years, 3 employees under 6, 3 under 7, 1 under 9, 1 at 10, 1 at 17, but we retired out before he gets his 25, and of course me. But those are the numbers you're looking at, far as people that's coming down the pike.
And if the young people, they're paying in it and they decide to leave, they're only taking a portion, and the rest of it is staying in.
Yes, sir.
So,
and you're going to have some of that no matter what you do.
They're contributing even though they've left.
They have.
If they don't take the full amount. But also we're looking, and I can't tell who's who.
That's right. And
you understand what I'm saying?
No, and I'm totally okay with that.
You're
but
saying that.
Knowing the people, that's why I did my math. And I expect you to trust but verify. That I'm not arguing with. But those are your numbers you're looking for, though.
Mr. Barber?
So if you go to your back page, where your higher years of service are, and we work back from the bottom, Mr. Fortney is not part of this pension.
Right.
Mr. Neal is not part of this pension.
Yep.
Mr. Bishop is. Mr. Willis is not part of this pension. Mr. Caldwell is not part of this pension. Mr. Salameyer is. Mr. Smith is not part of this pension. Mr. Schultz is not part of this pension. Mr. Wallace is. Mr. Stiegel, Brent Stiegel, is not part of this pension. Mr. Ratchford is not part of this pension. Mr. Moose is not part of this pension. Mrs. Wright is. Mr. Maddox and Mr. Murphy are not part of this pension. So on this page, you have 1, 2, 3, 4 that are 13 years, 17 years, 20 years, and 26 years. Of those folks of age, their physical age, all of them already in the next couple of years before they reach the 25 will qualify to retire because of the age of 62 as the pension currently is. There's only one employee that would, basically this would benefit. Everybody else, this is not going to do anything for them. If you go to the second page, it's a lot more of the same. As you go through there, as John mentioned, you've got one 9-year employee, and then there's a few of us that are at 7 years. I mean, that's and then the majority of them, 21, are like 4 years and behind. So, I mean, it's, as far as the number, you can go name by name. They're either in the FRS, in the police pension, and all the ones at the bottom of the list with very little service other than a few are the general employee pension holders.
And that's what we need to see instead of everybody clumped together.
Well, this is the only way. We apologize. This was the only way we could print out the report.
Yeah.
Okay.
I tried to get.
And that's why, again, if we want to go through the list, the chief's here, we're here, Lamar was here, but we can go through. I mean, many of you even know some of these folks. We can go point by point and show you that, just like I did on the back page, that 80% of those folks do not qualify for this change.
A great majority of them are firefighters.
So, if they leave, let's say, early, or they retire, and they were to take that up front, I think
it's
in
the
other
same as it
places,
is now.
do they get penalized for taking it up front?
No rule would change. The only rule that would change is instead of waiting till 62, if they put in a full 25 years of service, they would have the option, not the requirement, they would have the option of retiring.
Okay.
If they wanted to do a drop now and put 30 years in, which most of us would want to put 30 years in, that's kind of standard. The benefit of the drop is you stop contributing to the pension anyways. Right now, if you want to do the drop, you have to work 35 years, so it's not attractive to very many people. The drop is you stop contributing to the pension, you go to a 457 deferred, and then you get a lump sum to kind of pay off debt, because those 5 years it basically just collects as one lump sum payment, like a 401k, and then that's how that works. So the actuarial calculation includes the possibility of what employees we have now and could potentially do the 25 and out. That was the report that you all have seen multiple times. He fixed a cost to it, and the fund can pay for that cost. It will not cost the budget any further money. The actuary accounts for all of this, and that's why we paid him the $10,000 the previous year. The board authorized to do that. So again, I mean, you guys can go name by name. I mean, even right now, and you're going to find that the concern that you have, it's actually the opposite. We're right now on the precipice of a lot of contributors with very little people taking out. And one last thing I'll add. The last many people that qualified to retire in the last 6 or 7 years, many of them passed away within a year of collecting their pension. So some of them, I think 3 or 4 of them, did 30 plus years and received less than a year of their pension. So that's another reason why the fund is healthy. And it's overfunded in that regard.
Is that the idea of the council? Do you want men to die out before they can get their... Is that the idea of council? I apologize. That idea of council, y'all want men and women to die out before they can reach their benefits.
I don't think we're like Social Security and want us to
And
clock out. at
some of them
5
are
years.
extenuating circumstances as well. We won't go into that,
But either way, they didn't get to reach and get the potential of the years they served.
Right.
So I beg of you, just choose wisely. Choose what y'all feel best in benefit of the city.
Thank you. Mr. Stiegel, do you have something? No? All right. So, council?
I make a motion that we approve the first reading of ordinance 2025-750.
I'll second the motion.
All right. We have first and second. Any other discussion? Nope. All right. All in favor, seeing none. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed?
Aye.
3-1.
I'll just comment on page 160. It gives you all the options of how they can take the money. Normal, lump sum, monthly, whatever. It tells you right there.
All right.
Did you get the vote? Okay. And can I just say, the letter from the actuary was not in here, right?
It was not.
That would have been very helpful, and burden on me not to call in one of you guys and ask this question, but that where somebody who knows more about math than I do can say, yes, we've looked at the math and it makes sense, would be helpful.
Laura, can you make a note to put that in our next agenda packet for second reading? Thank you very much.
All right, Mr. President, this is first reading of ordinance number 2025-751, an ordinance of the City of Williston, Levy County, Florida, amending the Code of Ordinances, Chapter 2, Article 5, Division 2, Pension Plan, Section 2-202, Establishment of Retirement Plan and Trust for Police Officers, Transfer of Assets and Liabilities to adopt the Florida Municipal Pension Trust Fund, Defined Benefit Plan document of the Florida Municipal Pension Trust Fund, contained in Exhibit A, and its accompanying adoption agreement contained in Exhibit B, providing for repeal of conflicting ordinances, providing for inclusion in the city code, providing for severability, and providing an effective date.
I think this one's under me. Okay, this is what we had on the last agenda that we thought had been passed, but it was agended and tabled at the previous time that it was on there. So it has not been passed. That's why you're seeing it again. And this is very simply not changing the police officer's 185 pension plan at all. It is just transferring it to the fact that we are going to be under the Florida Municipal Insurance Trust provisions for the, if you read it right there, Florida Municipal Pension Trust Fund. It's their particular documents that keep us up with IRS, because provisions change almost yearly, daily, and they need to be up to date in our document, and our document is not up to date. It doesn't change any of the provisions. It simply updates it to what the IRS code is, and they will keep it up to date as we go. That's all this is. And it's for the 185 pension plan. This one is.
So it's pretty much just a slam dunk.
Sir?
It's pretty much a slam dunk.
Slam dunk. That's exactly right.
Mr. Rose?
There were some changes in this document.
Oh, yeah.
The last document was, it said 10 years. It's actually 6 years.
Yeah, you were given that while we were at lunch.
Yeah.
Or took our break. In the packet, it says the vesting is 10 years, but it was changed to 6.
To 6.
And this one has the correct verbiage in it.
Now I would ask the question. We did 25 on the first reading for the general employees, regardless of what age, correct? Is that what we did? So if they do 25 years, they can retire,
Yes.
regardless if they're 52.
That I read earlier on page 144.
Yes.
That's exactly it.
Okay, so
And I was the reason I was showing everybody that earlier is because I thought we could tailor that to our general employees too, but it didn't go that way. So,
well, in the police pension plan,
144,
we've got it 6 years. So member normal retirement date shall be the first day of the month, coinciding with the next following of the age of 55 and 6 years of service, or 52 and 25 years of service. So if we're doing 25 years totally for general employees and they're fully retired with no age limit, should we not do the same for the police pension plan?
maybe, but that's not what this is.
Okay. I just want to make sure we don't.
We might want to bring that back for discussion.
Yeah.
Your 185 pension board will have to discuss that. You need to take that to them.
Okay.
I can let you know when their next meeting is. Actually,
Okay.
they should be on your bulletin board. Did they get a copy of it? It's on your bulletin board at the police station. Tells you when the next meeting is. I want to say July.
No, it's changed.
Yes,
6
July.
years.
She sent me her cake.
Oh,
It's her birthday.
on July 9th is the next meeting for the 185 pension plan. It's usually at 5:30. And you might want to bring that to them.
Yeah, and there's some more corrections that I see in here that still say 10 years and they should be 6.
If you look at the document that's here,
Mhm.
this is the document when the general employees, which included the police department at that time, were transferred into the 185. So this is the language that talks about how they were transferred over. That's why it's got some weird stuff in here that doesn't even kind of pertain at the moment. And I think the new plan that they're going to give us will probably update some of that. But we need to look at it really good. And you're right, the ages may need to be looked at.
Yeah. Okay.
So we're going to table that?
We need to do this. This is the changing to their plan to bring it up to IRS codes. We don't need to change anything else because that's up to the 185 pension board to recommend to us
Okay.
and see how much it would cost to do it.
All right.
I make a
So-
motion.
Oh, sorry. So there's nothing to discuss here at all.
That's right.
Okay.
I make a motion that we approve the first reading of ordinance 2025-751.
I'll second.
We have a first and a second. Any more discussion?
I'll just make an additional comment that if we don't go with their plan so that they keep us, so they bring us up to code, IRS code, and keep us up to IRS code, we're going to have to individually change this every time. Ours is tailor-made for us right now, but if we don't go with theirs so that they keep us updated automatically, we're going to have to rewrite our plan every time the IRS changes their rules.
So they'll do it automatically
They'll
without
do it
you guys
automatic.
having to vote on it?
That's right.
Okay.
Right?
Okay. Do we got first, second discussion? Anything else? Any more?
And
Going
that's
once?
just, sorry, and that's just for the police
Yes, ma'am. The general employees are next because we have to do it for them too.
and the general?
They're the next ordinance.
All right, first, second. We had discussion a couple times. Anything else? All right. Hearing none. Ready to vote? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? 4-0.
All right, Mr. President, this is the first reading of Ordinance 2025-752, an ordinance of the City of Williston, Levy County, Florida, amending the Code of Ordinances, Chapter 2, Article 5, Division 2, Pension Plans, Section 2-201, Revision of Retirement Plan and Trust for General Employees, to adopt the Florida Municipal Pension Trust Fund, defined benefit plan document of the Florida Municipal Pension Trust Fund contained in Exhibit A, and its accompanying adoption agreement contained in Exhibit B, providing for repeal of conflicting ordinances, providing for inclusion in the City Code, providing for severability, and providing an effective date.
This is the exact same scenario, except it's the general employee plan. It will be brought up to IRS code, and they will keep it up to date for us.
Okay.
Nothing else changes.
Man, we could have just lumped the
Yeah,
two of
we
them.
could have.
I make a motion we approve, the first reading of ordinance 2025-752.
I'll second.
We have a first and second. Any discussion? Seeing, hearing none, we're going to move to vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? 4-0. All right. We're going to close the public hearing. Discussion with possible action. Letter L. Renaming Fireman's Park to be able to serve alcoholic beverages at special events. City Manager Sue Bodette.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. So, as you recall, we had a conversation, or at least a starting conversation last month regarding the possibility of serving alcohol at one of our parks. I've discussed this with several department heads and staff members, and this was our thought, is perhaps we could rename, we would want to possibly do this just at one park. We were thinking maybe Fireman's Park to start. We could charge for the alcohol, if the vendors want to serve alcohol, but our thought was that we didn't really like the word park because that denoted more of a family-friendly atmosphere. So maybe changing Fireman's Park to be something like Fireman's Pavilion or some other word that would, allow us to serve alcoholic beverages. It was really just another conversation that we wanted to bring about to see if there was a way to satisfy, serving alcohol at least one location. We could start with that location, and if it does work, we could potentially, roll it out to others, or we could just keep it to the one. But that was kind of our thought, was just to keep it at the one location and see how it goes.
Well, I can probably tell you the bill from Premier will be knocking on your door going, well, wait a minute. If that's all it would take is a name change, why couldn't we do it at Heritage Park? Because I know he's the one that's been, asking about having it, be able to serve beer and wine there. I've got mixed feelings on it, but I'm also not afraid to move forward to, and looking for the future. If he's willing to, we're talking about the name change, but I'm just saying if he's willing to meet what the police chief wants and things like that, I would say Heritage Park would be the place to try it, simply because there's more events that take place here than they do over at Fireman's Park.
Can I step in?
Yes, you sure may.
I'll pass over to Chief Rolls if that's okay, because I was able to be at a meeting with Chief Rolls and Sue, and the concern. And again, I'm gonna let Chief jump in a half second here. Heritage Park is too difficult to manage. Even Fireman's currently named park is difficult in the liability issues and everything else. By starting with the Fireman's Park, which has at least a smaller footprint and a fence could be put around it with one in and one out so that people could not or should, say they can't, but they shouldn't leave, and it can be very clear that they could leave no drinks as they leave. You can't do that with Heritage Park. There's no way to control where the alcohol goes and how it goes. So the idea was, debating the pros or cons of being able to sell alcohol in Heritage Park is not the issue right here. It's about the Fireman's Park. And the idea is, so that people don't say, well, you let it happen in that park, but you won't let it happen in this park. Let's just rename that. It's a pavilion. It's not a park. So that way, parks, no alcohol. Pavilion, yes, alcohol.
Well, and in this meeting, we talked about this, and in our ordinance it says no alcohol in parks. It specifically names parks in other areas as well. So we figured one way to get away from the stigma of having alcohol in a park is to rename the Fireman's Park to Fireman's Pavilion.
Or something.
Now, I'll say this. Anytime there's alcohol involved in a party or something, there's always issues. As you can see, Chiefland just had one where it turned into a fiasco, shots fired, all kind of stuff. Those are the things and the stigma that we're trying to avoid here in Williston. We've experienced the Crab Fest. We know what it turns into. The Fireman's Pavilion, if we rename it, was a way to try it to see if it would work and if we would have any problems. But I also think we limited it to what alcohol could be served there. I think it was wine and beer and wine, I believe it was, with some stipulations of depending on how many people it is, you may have to hire a police officer to be there to control the environment. But for like weddings and baby showers and things like that, the Fireman's Pavilion Park, whatever, would be a great location where if you're having a wedding venue, you can have beer and wine. It's easy to manage. It's not a heritage park where it's wide open and people can do whatever they want to do. So that was just a step we looked at it. If we decide to go that way, let's try it there first.
Okay.
So, in the name,
Fair Park, whatever.
Fireman's Park, it's not an actual park.
No.
What do you mean it's a passive park? Explain, please.
When we do an inventory of what we have, we do have things called passive parks. So we have parks like the tennis courts, and you're going to play tennis there. A passive park would be a park that doesn't necessarily have anything there, but it's a draw. It's still a draw. And since I've got the mic, we recommend what Mike Rolls would like us to call it would be Fireman's Square.
So are we going to is this only going to be during special events, or is this going to be at any point or any time, since it's going to be an outdoors open area where we're agreeing to allow people to drink publicly in the open with no food or anything associated?
Yeah.
It's not like it's a restaurant and people go outside and sit and eat and drink, but there's none of that. We're just going to allow people to congregate if it's not a special event.
No, it would be
alcohol.
It would be a special event, like I mentioned earlier, weddings, baby showers, things of that nature. Because the concern and the issues that we have to identify and look at is if we don't make it special events and we don't put a limit of how many people can come, then you've got nothing but a block party.
And that's my concern. That's why I'm asking
You see
the
what I'm
question
saying?
about, yeah.
Yeah, so that's why we said it would be special events, wedding showers, baby showers, whatever, those type things where they have to get a permit in order to do it. They have to go through the special event permit, and we all have to approve it. That way we prevent from having that open block party and everybody just going over there and hanging out and drinking beer and doing whatever.
So what's going to constitute a special event? Because what I consider a special event may not be something that you consider.
Yeah.
Have to fill out a special event application.
I understand that, but what is going to be considered a special event?
It could be birthdays, it could be wedding anniversaries, it could be baby showers. I mean, we can make whatever we want to be the special event.
Basically,
I
an
got a divorce
organized
party.
event.
Huh?
Is that going to be? I got divorced. Is that a special event? I mean, so that's why.
Yeah, but
that's. I'm just asking the question because people can come up with any name they want and call it a special event and still have what it is that you're talking about.
Well, that's why I'm saying.
So that's why I'm kind of trying to.
That's why I'm saying that the board would have to decide what are we going to allow as a special event. I'll give you an example.
Sorry.
As Chiefland, the group said, "Oh, we're having a birthday party." Well, it wasn't a birthday party.
Mm-hmm.
They said it was a birthday party so they could have it in the park, and then it turned into a massive block party.
Thousands of people.
Thousands of people where they had problems all night. So that's why the board would have to be very specific on you can only have these. And it would be up to us to decide, okay, do it require a police officer or not? And if it doesn't, we ride by and check it out. If it ain't a birthday party and it didn't turn into a block party, we just shut it down.
Is it going to require a number of people that can attend because the area is only so big?
Yeah.
Are we going to be looking at that as well?
It would have to have a certain amount of numbers of people that will be allowed.
Be hours too. We could say that the events can't start before 10 in the morning and they can't go past 4 o'clock in the afternoon. I mean, we can limit it in any way we want. This step is basically to pull the Fireman's Square Park Pavilion out of the lump of all the other parks so that we're not talking about all the parks, we're just talking about that space across the street.
Mr. Bishop?
Basically, what we're talking about is the same thing that we do already. So when someone comes in and wants to do something, they call it a special event. Both chiefs look at it, I look at it, Latricia looks at it, Sue looks at it, and all the criteria we're talking about, we all get together and we speak about that. And there's a lot of times chief won't sign off it unless I sign off it, or vice versa. And it's all about bathrooms, it's all about security, it's all about PD or fire or crowd control or MOT and all that kind of stuff. And when we do that, the numbers are there. So,
Correct.
So,
but the only thing is now we're adding alcohol to
no,
it.
absolutely. But what I'm saying is all we have to do is critique what we're doing now.
Which what, BJ?
Not each event.
I don't
not
think
each
that's
event.
what they
Just
said.
we're going to change. The
For the
idea
alcohol
was
only, yes, ma'am.
discussed at the last meeting before last anyway. The idea of allowing alcohol in parks, but the concern was, sorry, I didn't
I
ask
thought
permission.
I thought it was that we were going to do it.
Hang
each
one second. Mr. Stiegel.
Yes, sir. Yeah, I think this is a slippery slope.
It is.
Because you go renaming one park for essentially one guy that wants to sell beer and wine at events, and then we're going to name that Fireman Square. Now we're going to come over here and name this Heritage Square, so that we can do the same thing. And now we've got
no more parks.
people doing this and people doing that.
That's right.
And do we really want that look for the city of Williston? Personally, I mean, I grew up in Williston, raised my whole life here, went off to the Army for 8 years, came back, and my roots are here. I don't want to see this city just eventually erode away like that. We've already got a lot of erosion by a lot of people coming in massive amounts, and little by little, things like that are just going to eat at the soul of Williston, and I'm not a fan.
Although that is true. But we have a gentleman who is right down the road that seems to have it, makes it work in Matt Crandall.
It's a
Homestead
whole lot
Park.
different
What's the
situation.
name of that?
Yeah.
Homestead Park.
That's a whole lot different. And
It
in
is. It's a whole
this
lot different than a
scenario,
commercial establishment.
and in this scenario,
bartenders.
we're talking about only certain things. I'm not telling you that I'm for it. I'm not telling you that I'm against it. and I know that it's a slippery slope, like he said, but what I'm saying here is this would be for only, and we can do however many we want. We can say only baby showers. We can say only wedding anniversaries. We can do that and limit it to just those type of events where you're not doing it for one person.
Right.
Like you're not having Premier saying, well, I normally do my making bacon at Heritage Park. Now I'm going to do it at Fireman Square. No, because it's only allotted for certain type things.
Right. So here's my question. And when Chiefland happened, it changed for me on across there. We talked about it.
Oh, yeah.
But after sitting back and thinking about it, this park, if Bill did not do events, in which I encourage your committee to meet with him and to say, these are our concerns of this and that, and see if he can help you maybe do a policy. But other than that, to me, I think that park's underutilized, Heritage Park. If it wasn't for that gentleman doing it, we wouldn't do it. But he's bringing people who on a Saturday maybe might not have come to Williston, but because there is an event, they're coming out here.
Here's the thing we thought about. It says, it has the title park. That's Fireman Square. It's not a park.
Okay.
Even though Laura says it's whatever you call it.
Passive park.
Passive park.
Now it's passive square.
It's not. It doesn't carry. Parks are for our families and our youth and our children coming up. And if it says park, I will tell you right now, I'm totally against anything that says park. Okay, because that's, to me, that's for our families that are bringing their children to enjoy, relax, and grow up and utilize the park, not sit there and watch people drinking alcohol. Fireman Square is Fireman Square. It's not. It doesn't have the title of park, and we can limit it to what events we will allow to take place there.
So
if we were to go that way. Go ahead.
Kirsten
You know what,
has
Deborah?
a question. No, Kirsten has
Deborah
a
she had her hand up, then we'll go around.
Yeah, Kirsten actually was before me.
Okay.
She just didn't put her hand up. She turned on her mic.
So I just want to clarify, we can't say that we'll allow baby showers and not wedding showers, or we can't say that we'll allow birthdays but not this other. That's a First Amendment sort of issue. We can't really regulate the content of people's speech in a public place, which an event is sort of speech. So we can regulate it in a lot of ways, but I just want to make sure that we know that that's not one of the ways.
Okay. Deborah?
Okay. First of all, I think it's a horrible idea. And I don't care what Mr. Foster wants to do. He started out talking to me. Now he's talking to you. He's moving from one person to the other.
We talked the other night only because I was interested in the barbecue contest.
Well, I brought him in here a couple of times to speak to multiple city managers because he wanted to do it. I told him where I thought he might could accomplish it. Number one, and the main problem is there, and Meredith addressed it a little bit, there's no controlled entry or exit. It's a wide open space. And
Are you talking about Fireman's?
I'm talking about Fireman's Park.
Oh.
Fireman's Square, whatever you want to call it. There's no control. You can go in and out wherever you want to, and that's not good. It would have to have a controlled entry and a controlled exit if you were even going to consider it, which I don't believe that I will. I do believe it would only have to be with special event application. I would want it to be approved by the council in every case. I think it borders residential, which is not a whole lot different than the very first subject that we talked about, because there are some houses in that area, quite a few. The reason it's underutilized is there's no bathroom. How are you going to have a party with no bathroom?
I'm talking more so Heritage Park instead of Fireman's Park.
Okay, the other thing is you would have to limit the number of people and the hours. My problem is I would not want them to sell alcohol. That's why Mr. Foster's not going to be interested. If you want to bring alcohol, that's one thing. I do not want anybody selling alcohol in any property that we own.
Yeah, you can't do that.
I don't even care if they have a license. I don't, it's just not. on city property of any kind, whether it's a park or not a park. I don't think you need to be selling alcohol. Now, there have been occasions when we did the the groundbreaking, and also things that the chamber has done there, that we've wanted to have. We wished that we could serve wine or beer, well, mostly wine. We were talking about, and we knew we couldn't, and that's why we didn't. But that would be the only way I would go at it at all. There's no way I would ever vote to let somebody sell alcohol on city property.
But I think Councilwoman Jones has a lot of really good points, and I don't believe so. One thing that I wish Latricia was here, because this is not about Bill Foster at all. This is about a lot of people who are coming and asking us to rent the park, and then asking if they can have beer and wine, and us saying no, and they no longer want to rent the park. It is underutilized, but it's also in a blighted block, which we're working on. And at some point, this is going to be like the coolest Fireman's Square ever, but it's going to take some time because it's really, it's blighted. Let's, be honest. And it was one step before that building fell down. We either had to save the building and do something with it or tear it all down. So we decided to save it. So it is underutilized, but we think that, and no, selling alcohol is not even on the I don't even think that's on the plate. This isn't for Bill Foster.
No.
And his events. This is for residents who just want to have a small gathering downtown in this small little box. And if you guys don't want to do it, Chief and I are fine with that. I think that it was just something that was going to maybe be a trial to make sure we could behave ourselves if somebody wanted to make it bigger and let Bill do his big events and maybe sell.
So how big is the area?
Fireman's Park is tiny.
It's right across the.
The size of this room.
It's about the size of this room.
But don't you have businesses that are surrounding that park back there? So how does that? Am I thinking about the?
No, you're in the right area.
Yeah.
So right now it's next to 3 blighted businesses that aren't being utilized, and then another 2 that are low utilization, and then hopefully a steakhouse really soon. And we're doing a parking lot over there. This whole block is going to be different in a few years. But if you're doing this as a trial for Bill Foster to sell liquor, that's not at all what the purpose of this was for.
Nope.
So I don't even think that's anything that any of us really want.
Well, when this came about, which y'all know it caught me off guard in the meeting, I'm pro against it. I'm still pro against it, but I'm not pro against giving it a try. If that's what the council decides they want to do. But now sitting here and I listen to our attorney say you cannot limit it to certain events. I'm done. I'm against it.
But even in Jonathan can probably back me up with this. Even if doing an event in Heritage Park, we suggested, we had talked to Jackie about doing
SEA
state contest, which could have made the city some really good money.
There are better places I could send you.
They didn't
But
finish.
the key to that whole thing is it draws people. And if that's the mindset, then this will still be an underutilized park where we could have events to draw people to this town, which come for other things. And it's just not going to... You'll just stick with the same 3 events that you have.
Or the city can buy the properties and make things where they can sell alcohol from that area and have the area in the back. I don't know, I'm just saying.
I don't drink, but I'm not
I have to say I do.
I'm not opposed to somebody doing it. How do we know that the containers, the Yeti cups, and different things that people are walking in with don't have alcohol?
What's the liability for the city, Kirsten, if you care to tell us, please? I'm just asking.
Well, there's liability associated with everything that you do.
I get it.
There you go.
But what's the city? That's not there. You go.
That's a
But
good
what's
answer. I like
the
that.
city? Yeah. Seriously.
It's not. This isn't a completely novel concept. Lots of municipalities do something similar to what you all are discussing here. I'm not aware of any multi-million-dollar lawsuits that have come out of these types of parks and not parks,
Squares.
squares. I'm not aware of any very large lawsuits. I will say that your
Sovereign immunity.
right now is limited at $300,000. There is proposed legislation in place that would increase that very significantly. I believe it's $3 million would be.
I think it's
1.3.
currently at 600,000.
Yeah, 1.3 and 3.30.
I think it's currently at 600,000.
Yes, ma'am, but she's trying to tell you that it's going to go up to 1.3 and 3 million for an event.
Potentially.
It's past 6 times already. It's coming.
If you'd like to continue.
So you have limited liability by sovereign immunity, generally speaking. There are some situations in which sovereign immunity does not apply. It's very fact specific, so I can't tell you
Gross negligence.
whether or not any potential liability incurred at this square would result in sovereign immunity exempt liability. It's not.
I'm just asking simply because
Yeah,
I know
I
if
think
you're at a bar or somewhere, whatever, then they kind of bear some liability because it would happen on their premises.
You do bear some liability.
I'm just trying to figure out what.
It would not be unlike that.
I think the mere fact of discussing it.
Okay, hang on 1 second.
So, not to overstep you, Ms. Hines, but what you're talking about with the bars, you're absolutely correct. But the part that you're missing is if you're doing the serving, then you have the issue with the liability.
Okay.
So if you're serving, yes, you're correct, 100% correct with the bars.
Okay.
Mr. Barber?
Thank you.
Come up here, I'm not speaking as an employee, I'm speaking as the head of another organization completely. So I'm the chair of the Citra Improvement and Volunteer Fire Department. I want to encourage the council not to pursue this because I don't want a neighboring community honing in on my business. Because I think it's absurd that through economic development, we're starting a chamber over there. There are political events, there are banquets, there are specific things that our community, in cooperation with the Marion County Sheriff's Department and the Marion County Fire Department, we would absolutely do this, and we are going to do this on our property. We have insurance for this reason, we have policies. So I hope you don't do it, because I don't want you to steal that business, and I want those events to come to me. Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, and I think that was the reason for doing it as a special event, because of the insurance. We can have them have that insurance,
Have their own insurance.
have their own insurance on a special event permit, and that's why we were trying to limit it to certain events. Even though I was just told we can't do that because it kind of infringes on people's First Amendment. But anyway, I think.
I didn't write the First Amendment.
So I think that was part of why we were trying to tie it to an event. You have to have a special event permit.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Ms. Meredith.
Yeah, just to piggyback on that, we can make it as difficult or strict as we want by limiting hours, music, number of people, provide, not provide parking, however you want to do it.
Require insurance.
Buy
kinds of
insurance,
things.
a fee. I mean, we're not talking about, it's like a last minute decision. We just want to go down to the park and we're going to bring a bunch of beers and we're going to have a party and call it a special event. This is like, you could do it by how many weeks in advance you have to put in for the permit and things like that, so that we structure it towards exactly the groups that, Donald was talking about. But, making sure it's people who are planning ahead and having contingency plans and willing to put the money on the table and, rain, no rain, however we want to do it. We can 100% structure this as tight as we want. And if all goes well and we want to loosen the edges, we can. And if we don't, we don't. But otherwise, what is anybody going to do with that park over there? Once there's parking and more landscaping, it's still going to be lovely, but to have a place where you can have an event and coolers of beer and a glass of wine and cheese or whatever, and no selling, no hard liquor, however we want to structure it, we structure it.
I was telling Laura that down in Apopka, beautiful facilities. They made a lake, they have a band shell, and everything else. With their pavilions, you got to rent them, and there's rules. And on the pavilion, is a placard that says this is rented.
Mhm.
These are the people.
Yep.
And from time to time. From what time to time? My feeling is this. We've been beating this dead horse. So I think tonight we either decide we're going to do it or not do it. That's just my... Because we're just beating a dead horse. Ms. Jones?
I agree. Don't do it.
I think the mere fact that we're talking about liability, the fact that there's no bathroom, even though they could bring a porta potty, and the timing of it, we're getting ready to dig the whole thing up and put utilities and build a parking lot. I think it's a terrible time to do it, even if you want to do it.
But why not
The timing is just not
get
good.
the rules done now?
Mm-hmm.
While they're doing that, it's out of commission.
I don't want to do it. It's up to y'all.
Then vote no. I make a motion that we, is that what we're doing here?
Move forward.
Move forward with
proposed
renaming
plan.
the Fireman's Park so that we can discuss having alcoholic beverages at special events there.
Got a first? Got a second? Anybody
Right.
interested?
You're making the name change contingent upon why you're doing it.
Well, I don't think we need to change the name because it's Fireman's Square. It's not Fireman's Park anyway.
Oh,
it
it is
isn't?
Fireman's Park.
It says Fireman's Park right across the top.
It is the square.
Well.
So, I make a motion that we rename Fireman's Park to Fireman's Square. And continue the discussion about having alcoholic beverages at special events at Fireman's Square.
So the rename is not contingent on the.
No, it's just
Beverages.
continue to have discussion.
But at
'Cause-
what point are you going to cut its neck?
Well, somebody would have to bring an ordinance because it's a change. Right. So it'd have to be brought as an ordinance to allow alcohol in Fireman's Square for special events and all of the other things we want to keep this tight.
Okay, so we got a first. You got anything?
Okay.
All right, so it dies due to lack of
Lack of a second.
a second.
Next item.
So we'll be back in another month fighting about it again, and it'll be 10 o'clock.
Or we can forget it until after the parking lot is done.
Item M.
Or forget it forever.
Discussion with possible action, overage and allotted vacation hours. City Manager Sue Badette.
Oh, I'm so sorry to bring this up at 10 o'clock at night. Unfortunately, this might be a long conversation. So
You want to kick you to next week or next meeting?
we can. I mean, it's not going to kill the world if we don't do it tonight. We can wait till the next time if you guys want to do it.
We don't want to pressure you.
I mean, I can at least tell you what it's about if you want to just think about it. But I think this has been going on for a long time. Our employee manual says that employees are only allowed to accrue 288 vacation hours. We have 8 employees that have significantly more than 288 vacation hours. And with the new system that we're going to Edmunds, I've been told by Selena that basically anything in excess of 288 hours is going to go away. So I need to get some direction from the council as to how we want to handle these excess hours. In previous places that I've worked, we paid out the difference. I don't know if that's something that we can do or we could consider, but we have to figure out what we can do with these. And there's some people in here that have a significant amount over 288 hours.
So,
So
real question.
Go ahead.
So, you said we're going to a new system?
Edmunds?
Edmunds. Okay. So, and 288 is the only number we can go with. We can't go higher than that. Or
That's
can
what's in our employee handbook right now, and maybe that's something we can do, is maybe you may want to think about changing the employee handbook to allow people to, accrue more than the 288 and keep more on the books. But, I mean, like I said, we have people that have, 800 or 900 hours, and they're way over that 288 that's allotted.
So what, 7 weeks?
Mm-hmm.
And that's a liability for the city. So we don't really, if we increase it, we're increasing the liability for the city.
True. True.
But 288 really isn't a lot.
7 weeks.
Yeah,
I just divided it out over here.
That's still not a lot. that still isn't a lot. But okay, and that's fine. I'm not going to fight with the numbers. Yeah. I guess if you can come back maybe to us with the ones who are significantly over and what the cost would be in order to pay them out, or do something different.
Nice vacation.
Why are you looking like that?
Because we're talking thousands of dollars if you pay them out.
I just want to see numbers. I mean, I don't know what they are, so.
And I can say in systems that I've been in before, if 288 is your number, why were they allowed to accrue more than 288? Our system, every place I've ever worked, it stopped at 288. You didn't keep accruing and have it. One other place that I used to work, when management group changed from one to the other, and we had more than they allowed, they let us bank the extra. And you could only use it for special, like illnesses and that sort of thing. You couldn't use it for vacation so much as you could for sickness or illness after you'd used all your other. It was there, so you didn't really lose it, but it was banked. And it was only banked for you. So that's another solution that I could think of.
Mr. Barber?
Okay, brief history. One is we don't just have leave time. This is annual time. We also have a sick time. So you have up to 800 hours of sick time that the handbook allows you to accrue up to. Then there's an additional sick bank, which you can purchase hours into, and that gets you up to so much time. So the staff is not complaining about the levels. In regards to Ms. Jones, you mentioned, why were they allowed to get over 288? This is a sort of a sad subject, because the answer to that question is we were not allowed to take that time. We were forbidden.
That's not at all what I meant.
From taking that time.
I meant, why did the system allow?
Because it's manual. Because it's manual. It's Infomark. It's literally an Excel sheet, and they just keep adding it up, and it kept going up and up.
Edmunds.gov is not going to be manual.
Edmunds is an automatic. You put in your coding, and then the coding dictates that if we were to, after an adjustment was made, that it would drop off automatically, and that you would know what the rate it is that you have to take. Your options could be one, comp time. It could go from annual to comp. Comp is another category that we have. The second option could be that you pay it out. The third option could be that you create something that many systems have called terminal leave, meaning that when someone gets to their retirement, if they have banked what they put over their 288 and put into terminal leave, that let's say the last few months before their retirement date, they don't show up to work, the position is not filled, and they are on what we call terminal leave. They're terminally leaving until they're processed out for retirement. That's another thing that Marion County, Alachua County, and a few other agencies do. The military does terminal leave.
That wouldn't help you fill the position, though.
So it's not considered vacation, sick, or any of that. It's considered basically like you're banking the time to early retire, but you're still considered a full-time employee with benefits and things of that nature. Just banking that time till the end of your retirement. I'm not saying that's what you should do. Those are the different ways that people handle overages. The other thing that was mentioned is that, as far I'm on the list, I know a lot of other people here are on the list, I'm not looking to go down to 288, because if you guys make a change, let's say tonight, and you decide to take my excess over, then the very next paycheck, I'm starting to lose time again. We want to go down to like 200 hours in annual leave, and we want the balance transfer. So we have a little bit of time and room to allow that to grow. But the only reason why these numbers got excessive for employees is because there was some inappropriate management decisions years ago, and we were not able to utilize this benefit, or else there would have been consequences up to and including termination, and there were vacations that were canceled, and there were a lot of serious things that
I
occurred.
know, that was
So-
4 or 5 years ago.
Yeah.
Hang on.
I mean, we're talking a long time.
Hang on. Mr. Bishop is next.
The other thing to think about too, if we remember, the 288 is somewhat of a newer thing. I want to say it's 5-6 years old, 8 years old. The 288 is a newer thing. It hasn't been there my whole career.
Ms. D?
Yeah.
So yeah, I think we need to start somewhere. And have to maybe figure out how to have those who are excessively over put somewhere, their leave put somewhere. But it still needs to start at a certain amount, and I would say increase it to maybe 350 hours, and then start at 288. That way you have a buffer in there. But after that, once we get there, instill that if you go over your hours, it's a use or lose.
Yeah.
So if you don't use leave by the end of the year, if you have overage, then you lose that amount or you have to take leave. That also instills to make sure that people are taking leave and getting rest and spending time with family and things of that nature. So I think we just have to kind of start where we are and then go from there. So whatever excess there is, it's just excess, like you say, bank it or something. But then start at 288.
I mean, 328 would
350.
be 8 weeks. We went up to 328 for 8 weeks and banked the rest of it.
That's fine.
I mean, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, but
I'm actually agreeing with you, Dee.
I know. I mean, because, unfortunately, things tend to happen. And 8 weeks really isn't a long time. Not saying that we're looking to.
2 months? Yeah. 2 months without an employee that we need is a long time. And they could be on family leave or family medical leave or whatever.
Yeah, they could be on FMLA from having a baby. I mean, it just kind of, and that's 6 months.
Mr. Barber?
Or 2 months,
FMLA
or
is
whatever.
12 weeks if you
3
want to
months,
meet
3 months.
a federal standard.
It's totally different than this.
Well, I understand that.
I
I'm,
know,
I'm
yeah,
just saying,
we're just
but
saying, I'm
you
just
would
saying.
lose if you went out on FMLA. I went out of FMLA last year for our child that was in NICU for many, many weeks. I was out for 8 weeks, and I can tell you, to Miss D's point, that went by very, very quickly, and I came back because I was needed here. So, I mean, I kind of self-returned, but your FMLA is up to 12 weeks. But when you apply for MFLA, if you want a paycheck, it's not free money. You have to use your own time.
Right.
So I would just say if you met the federal standard, that would
3
be
months.
what they could take as a max anyways at a time in an emergency, in a calendar year.
Do you know what our liability would go up if we went from 7 to 12?
No, I understand what you're saying,
I mean, that's
Miss Jones.
7 to 12, what? Oh, you mean weeks?
I mean, we're talking about their hourly rate times 40 hours is a
Mhm.
week. All the people they're talking about, everybody. I mean, we're talking a lot of money.
We are, but the only way you really see that money is if
And you have to do it for everybody, not just them.
If you're having a person who is having a medical necessity, they can't really take 8 weeks at once just because they have it. Because
Well,
no,
they
they
should.
can't. No, because I mean,
But like Donald said, you take
manager-
FMLA, but if you want to get paid, you have to use it.
right. But the manager can also
Obviously,
say,
you didn't
"Listen,
use
we
it.
have this amount of people. I can give you 2 weeks off. I can give you, whatever." You still have management who has to regulate that.
Right.
It's not just because they have it; they can use it. It's still regulated. I have 6 weeks at.
Talking about vacation or FMLA.
I have 6 weeks of vacation at my job, but
Sure.
they're not going to let me take all 6 weeks at once.
Oh, no.
Mike-
You know what I'm saying? So that's,
Yeah.
I guess that's what I'm saying.
I agree with that.
Miss Meredith?
Can we table this? This is not going to get solved tonight. It's 10 o'clock. Can
We
we
need some
table?
numbers.
Yeah, we need some numbers. We can
Okay.
argue it till
We're
it's
going to
dead.
need to, if I understand, this will go into effect the next couple of weeks. So we're going to have to definitely address it at the next. If you read here, it says the system goes into effect.
Oh.
So you can bank them until
Okay.
then. Yeah.
Alright.
So they don't
That's
lose
fine.
them. But what we need, we need numbers. We need to know how many hours they've got. We need to know what their rate of pay is to know what kind of dollars we're talking about. If somebody's talking about paying them out, which I'm not, but somebody might be. You might could convince me, but I don't think so. Because I've never worked anywhere that did that.
Right.
When you left, they pay you out.
And that's fine. It's just conversation.
Exactly. What else do we need, though, from them between now and then? The number of hours. Well, we also need to know that if we increase it from 288 to even 328, how many more dollars of liability does that give us for the entire year's payroll? We need to know that, too.
And if it would require more staff to cover people gone.
Okay.
So can I make a motion that we table this until the next meeting when we have the answers to those questions?
I'll second. But I have a discussion. So, is Miss Odette still on the line?
I'm here.
Did I say that right? I'm sorry.
Yes, ma'am.
So is this just for annual leave or vacation time, or is this for sick leave as well that we're looking at?
No, it's just vacation.
So we probably need to look at them both, if that makes
Okay.
sense.
If there's a cap on the number of sick hours, which I'm sure there is, we need to look at it, too. You're exactly right. 180?
800.
Oh, yeah, thank you. You did say that earlier.
What you?
So if there's anybody with more than 800, we need to hear that, too.
So it's 800, but when you cash out, you only get 25%. So the real number is 200.
I realize that. You get all of the vacation, but you only get a quarter of the sick leave.
Yep.
Can we discuss this at the next meeting, please? I'm going to have to go. I'm sorry. I'm going to have to
This
leave.
one will be real quick.
Okay.
Discussion with possible action, Charter Review Committee, review term limits for the council members and the mayor, council president, me, Michael Cox. Basically, this is, and you can read it, we can bring this back because we want to have it done by October. I talked to Tammy Jones, actually, we can go a little later, but I don't want to because I don't want it to go until we don't get it on there. Basically, it's saying that we're going to take, my suggestion is it's the council that sets this first one. Granted, I realize people vote on it, they set it. But to go from 2 years council to 4 years. If I've highlighted in the little packet that I gave you, the ones I want to do.
Point of order, Mr. President.
Yes, sir.
You guys have a motion on the table with a second, but you never actually took a vote.
Oh, sorry. We have
to table M.
Yep. Sorry about that.
Sorry to say, what was the motion to table? There you go.
All right, we had a second. Any other discussion? Hearing none, to table it. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, 4-0. All right, so going back to this, just wanting us to get where other cities are at. We're outdated, and I brought this up about almost a year ago that we do this. The other thing is even talking about installation of new officers. So president, instead of 1 year, will go to 2 years. Not doing it for me, trust me.
Why?
To go for me, 2 years.
I mean, we elect it every year.
Yeah, so we'll go to 2 because we're going to go to a 4-year thing. Every 2 years, there's going to be an election. So we'll
You can
do.
still elect every year, but it doesn't matter.
Yeah, we keep it the same.
I would.
So you can read over that and we'll come back to it. The other part of it, something that I don't understand, is how come it is that if a council person leaves office, they have to wait a year if they want to go work for the city?
To keep people from having conflict of interest.
So if John leaves office and goes over and has backhoe experience and wanted to work for utility, how would that be a conflict?
Because utility may have solicited him to come and work there for them. Thereby, he will leave office and go work there, which is a conflict of interest.
So instead of just a suggestion, instead of a year, go to 45 days or 6 months. It's just something I don't understand. It's not explained in here.
Because it's good practice to actually insulate yourself.
Okay. So that's one of the things that I see with that. Do have to go, but I'm not going to stay here all night for this. So take it home.
I make a
read it.
motion.
We're going to table it to the next one so we can leave.
So we don't have to make a motion to table. Okay.
You've discussed it.
I may be late. I got to have some sleep.
I make a motion that we adjourn.
Time is now 10:15 p.m.
Can I get a second?
A second.
Thank
Got
you.
a first, got a second.
What
Any
happened?
discussion? All in
None.
favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye.